you are saying that India's GDP is going to grow by 11.5% in 2021, which is the highest of any country, higher than China, which is 8%. And this is despite the fact that you projected minus 8% for India in 2020. Explain that. Explain how, in your analysis, India is miraculously doing so well.
Say hi, it's a pleasure to join your show. I think for all countries, Srinivas, the important thing is to combine the numbers for 2020 and 2021. So part of the reason why the growth numbers are very large for 2021 is because there was a very severe contraction estimated for the previous year, right. So of an 8% contraction. So as a comparison with China, China is projected to grow 2.3% in 2020 and then another 8%. So cumulatively, that is over, 11% growth in China over 2 years, as opposed to like 3% or something for India. So I think you always have to combine the numbers together. But again, indeed, it is an upgrade. And the reason for the upgrade are a couple of things. One is after India opened up from one of the strictest lockdowns in the world, you saw activity coming back much faster than expected. And secondly, and this is important, while in other countries, when you opened up, you actually also saw another wave or resurgence of the virus. In the case of India, on the other hand, you're seeing a very sharp decline in the number of active cases, as it appears that many more countries are many more people are actually have the antibodies in their system. So I think this is a very important factor for it.
Okay. So let me just take up that first point where you mentioned that one of the reasons why India might be doing so well is also because of what economists call the low base effect, that because you were coming off that minus 8%, that's one of the reasons why it's now 11%, because overall, if you look at it as you pointed out, if you compare it factoring in the low base effect, then India's GDP growth rate is actually just 2.6% over 2019. Which is in fact much less than China. China is actually growing at about 10% compared to 2019.
So we have an upgrade for India, so this is certainly better than what we had projected in October. Sure. But indeed, I think if you want to put the numbers in perspective, you really do want to accumulate over the 2 years.
Okay, that's fair enough, because often what tends to happen is people go for the headlines and they don't actually do the decoding of the numbers, and that can be a little bit misleading. But overall, you are talking about an upgrade because, as you mentioned, that India is opening up, and also fingers crossed we're doing better with the virus. But I do want to ask you though, Gita Gopinath, because there is the number of the upgrade, there is the kind of positive signal that it sends, but there's also the ground reality of what is happening in India, where we are beginning to see the economy turn around, but those numbers conceal quite a lot of distress, especially to small businesses and especially to the informal economy.
Yeah, so a couple of points I will make. First is that, again, when you look at an eye-popping number like 11.5%, you should also keep in mind where India would have been in the absence of this pandemic. So if you, for instance, look at 2022 overall, and you look at where India is expected to be now relative to what it would have been, there is still a 9% gap. So there is, even in terms of the overall average GDP numbers, there is still a gap to close, even if India is doing better than what we expected in October. And secondly, indeed, what you said is correct, which is these numbers don't reveal the distress that you are seeing in the informal sector, what you're seeing with poorer households. And again, with medium, small enterprises, it's hard to get this information. Even when you come to employment, there isn't, official data at high enough frequency to see what's actually happening with employment. So, there is a lot of distress that continues. And again, just to keep in mind where India would have been relative to where it is now.